So what's going on, guys? It's Boxing with Jay. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and you drop a like in the video below. So it's Danny Garcia fight week. This is the first time Danny Garcia has fought in 18 months since he dropped the 12-round unanimous decision to Errol Spence for the WBC and IBF welterweight titles, in a fight where he underperformed. Errol Spence was coming off that car crash, a year out of the ring, and Danny Garcia just didn't really perform in that fight. You could just say that was down to Errol Spence being too good. He was dominant, he was using his jab, he was breaking Danny Garcia down to the body. And, Danny Garcia just didn't really let his hands go. His father was frustrated with him for not letting his hands go. But Errol Spence, he's very good at being that methodical fighter, breaking you down slowly, turning the pressure up little by little each round. And I don't think Danny Garcia could really do much with it. But Danny Garcia has always been one of them fighters. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. He's one of them fighters, like consistency in big fights. He doesn't always live up to it, Consistency at 147 pounds. He's looked good in the past against the likes of Amir Khan and Lucas Matisse, putting on good performances. And then at 140 pounds against Mauricio Herrera, and where he got a massive gift, and a Lamont Peterson fight where I think it should have been a draw. Danny Garcia, he's just one of these fighters. He's not always been consistent, but he does have moments where he looks really good, and I felt that he was at his best at 140 pounds, but at 147 pounds, he's never really looked the same. Yeah, he got a belt against Robert Guerrero, but, Robert Guerrero had seen better days at that point, and he's had a couple of other victories, but then he had the loss against Keith Thurman, where he lost his world title, and then he lost to Sean Porter. And then, obviously, he's lost to Errol Spence. So he's lost to three top guys at 147 pounds. So Danny Garcia was always considered like the 4th, 5th best fighter maybe in the division. And he's just never really looked the same as he did at 140 pounds. But now he steps up to 154 pounds. He's saying that he's more refreshed. He's not as depleted. But I don't feel like he's big enough for 154 pounds. I don't think he'll have the punching power or the sharpness, to bother the top guys in that weight class. Jamal Charlo's the guy who has all the belts right now. You've got guys like Tony Harrison, Sebastian Fundora. Like, imagine putting Danny Garcia against a young beast like Sebastian Fundora, 6'6". I just don't see it ending well for Garcia. But he's fighting Jose Benavidez Jr. That is the opponent he is fighting this weekend. A guy himself was a 140 pound fighter and a welterweight fighter. This is his first time, I think, at 154 pounds. He might have been in his last fight, correct me if I'm wrong. But again, a guy who, a few years ago picked up a bad leg injury. He could only use one of his legs properly, and he fought Terence Crawford and he got stopped in the 12th round. He was competitive in spots in that fight, but, it was always looking like Terence Crawford was winning the war in that fight, and he was going to get to him, and he did that eventually. Dropped him with a great uppercut and then finished him off. He is the brother of David Benavidez, the two-time WBC 168 pound champion, the monster in that division, who people like to say is the monster. And he looks like the monster in some of his fights, like David Lemieux and Anthony Durrell, etc. I feel like he's the more talented out of the two brothers, but Benavidez, he has been compromised due to that injury. He was having early success in his career at 140 pounds. Before that, he's coming off a draw in his last fight against a guy called Torres, who was like 17-3. I think his name was Richard Torres, maybe. Or am I getting him mixed up with that heavyweight guy for top rank? I don't know. But yeah, he didn't look really good in his last fight, and I think this is going to be one of them fights where Danny Garcia is going to look okay, and people are going to think, Danny could live with it at 154 pounds, but he's not fighting a natural 154 pounder. He's not fighting a Tony Harrison or a Fundora or a Lubin or a Jamal Charlo or a Tim Dazoo, the guys who people consider the top guys at super welterweight. So, Danny Garcia, he's going for legacy. He's trying to keep his career alive, trying to get that 3rd belt, but I just don't see him being sharp enough or strong enough or powerful enough to trouble these younger, fresher guys who are naturally 154 pounds. Moving on the undercard, you've got Adam Kawanakai. He's facing a guy whose name escapes me. He's a lower level heavyweight. He's just coming back after his losses to Robert Helenius, The first fight where he got knocked out, and the second fight where he just got absolutely beat up. He got absolutely beat up. I think it was on the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder trilogy card. Yeah, it was. He got absolutely battered in that fight, and that's only, what, 6-7 months ago. So where's he going to be at mentally? Maybe he needs a bit of a soft touch, you know, to get his confidence back. But I don't see Adam Kawanakai really being a player in the heavyweight division. I just don't think he's quick enough. I don't think he's in good enough condition. I don't think his defense is good enough. I just don't see him being a top guy at heavyweight, especially when somebody like Robert Helenius, who, you know, is a good fighter, but, you know, when a guy like Robert Helenius is battering you for 7-8 rounds, I just don't see you being a major player in the heavyweight division. Like, you could put someone like Kawanakai in with Joe Joyce and he'd get mowed over, in my opinion. So it is what it is. He's continuing his career. Let's see what he can do. But yeah, I don't really see Adam Kawanakai being a major player in the heavyweight division. And you've got Gary Russell against Rancis Barthelemy. I think that's how you pronounce it. Kid Blast, the Cuban fighter, who's been around for a while. They're having a fight, and I think Gary Russell, not to be mistaken with the featherweight Gary Russell Jr. This is his brother, who's also named Gary Russell. So yeah, he's looking pretty good at 140 pounds. He's looking very good. I think he's coming off the victory over Victor Postal, where he got the stoppage in the final round of that fight. A fight that he was winning. I thought the stoppage was a bit unnecessary. I thought they should have let Postal go to the end, but it is what it is. He was winning the fight anyway. But, you know, Barthelemy, again, a guy 37 years old, a Cuban fighter coming from that Cuban background. You know, he's always been skillful, but he's never really had that big defining victory. He's won a couple of world titles, similar to Yuriorkis Gamboa, but never really had that defining win. He has that draw to Robert Easter a couple of years ago. He had that loss to Kill Relic. And he had that fight before with Kill Relic in the first fight where he got a gift. And he's a guy, you know, skillful, but he don't really set the world alight. And at 37 years old, I just don't see him being able to hang with a younger, fresher, up-and-coming guy in Gary Russell. So I think he'll get the victory. I don't know if he'll get the stoppage, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But the undercard, you know, it's looking good. It looks like a good fight night. Danny Garcia, obviously, like I said, he's trying to get himself into a title shot. And if Jamal Charlo doesn't fight Tim Tszyu at the start of next year, even though he's mandatory, if something happens and that fight don't happen, maybe Danny Garcia can fight Jamal Charlo. But I don't see that ending well for him. And again, like I said before, who's he going to fight? Somebody like Fundora? You know what I mean? It's just, nah, I just don't see Garcia being competitive at 154 pounds. But he could prove me wrong. But yeah, comment below in the comment section. What do you guys think? I'm out.